What's up guys, KPlaysHere. Welcome to day 4 of the teaser trailer marathon. I hope you Gunlance users are hungry because it looks like you guys are eating good in Wilds. There's a lot going on in your new trailer and all of it looks like it'll generate a ton of hype. Happy for y'all, and since Hunting Horn and Gunlance have historically been brothers at the bottom of the roster, I'm really hoping that some of that Capcom love comes our way too. Without further ado,
shields up, Ironbreakers.
Let's talk Gunlance. While I've yet to play Frontier, I immediately noticed that some of these moves were borrowed from that version of Gunlance this time around. I've seen some people say that the same might go for Sword and Shield in that quick clip we got in the focus mode video, and we'll get there when we get to that video. But that could have some interesting implications in the future if there's a possibility for some of the other weapons to get those too. It comes into play here though with this new shelling sidestep into a sweeping shell attack. Both moves aren't quite the same as they were in Frontier, but seem to fill similar roles in the moveset. The sidestep will be great for repositioning while attacking at the same time. And for what we see here, it'll be able to chain up to at least 2 times and possibly as many times as you have shells loaded. The wide sweep on the other hand could either be its own move or a new version of the full burst. Whatever it may be, it's able to combo directly into an extremely fast Wormstake. One complaint I know Gunlance users sometimes have is that Wormstake deals decent damage but takes a relatively long time to pull off, leading to the chance of missing if the monster moves out of range. Well, no more of that. Dazzle the monster with an explosive sweep and then surprise, you got staked. What's crazy is that this isn't even the coolest way they've added to use Wormstake, but we'll get there in a second. Next we see a demonstration of Gunlance's defensive capabilities. First is a normal block, followed by what's clearly a new counter into an overhead slam. Gunlance has had this handful of counters and guard points before, but they were mostly in games with varying movesets like Generations and Rise. It's nice to see that they've integrated them to the baseline moveset now. And it isn't even just this one. Pay attention to this flashing white shield indicator, because this isn't the only time we'll see it in the trailer. This does have me curious about the defensive abilities that they're going to give to Gunlance's less explodey cousin the Lance, since that one is usually the one with the fancier ways to use the shield. That'll be something to look out for sure. Moving on though, we have a few older shelling moves with a couple new twists. Charged shelling can now be done while moving and also from behind your shield, which lends itself nicely to making the weapon more tanky and aggressive. Next up there's a full burst, which now seems like it fires in a more concentrated area. I tried counting the shells in the full burst to see what type of Gunlance this is, but it's a bit hard to tell. As most Gunlance players know, the shelling type varies your playstyle by changing up the power of specific shelling moves. If those are altered in some way, or maybe even unified into a single shelling type across all Gunlances, it could be a pretty big change to the weapon. We may need to see gameplay with the full UI to figure out that for sure, but if we're unable to check the Hunter's Notes to see what type of shelling the demo Gunlance has, we might even need to wait until the full game. Finally though, there's that iconic Wyvern's Fire, which also looks like it fires in a more concentrated line of explosions. This is another possible long-time Gunlance complaint being addressed here. If this ends up being a single hit, it'll be a lot better for things like wake-up attacks, and even if it isn't, it'll be much easier to land all the damage on your intended target. Like I said, Gunlance users are eating good today. Jumping back into the new stuff though, this next part had me speechless. We know that this is a focus strike because we can see the glowing wounds and there's a brief glimpse of this attack in the focus mode interview, but I don't think anybody was expecting it to be this crazy. After unfolding the Gunlance to expose the Wormstake, the Hunter turns into a drill and starts absolutely laying into the Chatacabra with a rapid flurry of hits. If this does elemental or status damage, it could be extremely useful, but let's be real. Players are probably going to use this move a ton no matter what. I mean, look at it. Easily one of the coolest new moves we've seen so far. Interestingly, if you go back to the focus mode video, it shows the Wormstake being fired off instead of being used as a drill, so there may be multiple ways to use this attack. My guess is that you can either do the long one we see here to unload more damage into multiple wounds, or the version we saw before to quickly hit a single target. As we wrap up the trailer though, we get to see a few more examples of Gunlance's new guarding abilities. The white shield indicator shows up again twice during this combo, first after a quick reload and then right before our Wormstake and the slightly altered version of that new sweep into stake combo. This was the second stake in that sequence by the way, which means that you'll be able to reload and fire those off back to back now. And again, with multiple guard points mixed in, because why not? Slaplance looks like it'll be a thing of the past with all these fancy ways to utilize the gun part of the weapon, assuming that they also address that age-old issue of shelling scaling. But shoot, with all the love being shown here, I don't see why this isn't a good as time as any to cross that off the list too. Lastly though, this is a quick shot, but we get a sneak peek at Gunlance's Power Clash. Obviously as a weapon that'll be able to guard, it'll be getting one. But with us seeing yet another one of those, it's still up in the air what the shieldless weapons we'll be getting instead. With that though, this wraps up one hell of a trailer. I mean, seriously, I don't even play Gunlance and I'm hyped for Gunlance. Pretty much the only thing missing here is that crazy blast dashing rocket move. This is how you tease a weapon. I'm hoping that the rest of the trailers bring this same energy, especially for you know dude. I mean who. As usual though, I'll leave you guys with the hype train of a video in full so you can see it uncut. Tomorrow will be yet another day and another video, and after this one I'm very optimistic for what we get next. Until then though, this has been another KPlays and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.